Yeah, Michael said lots of improvements at the VA over the past years. So we had a really good increase in care uh, with President 45. We had a significant drop with President 46 in the types of care and the way that we went about getting care. Um, it was administration things. Look, I'm not picking on anybody. I'm just saying that there was a visible thing. We had a quality of standard for Obama, right,
Hmm.
at the VA system. And then we had a steep incline in the quality of care we got under Trump on his first term. Um, there was a drop with Biden, whatever. Politics aside, there was a drop in the quality and type of care and the length of time it took to get care under Biden.
Hmm.
And so I'm really hoping because they had some really good programs that they actually did away with under Trump and did away under Biden that I hope they bring back because it really shortened the amount of time it took to get new appointments or referrals or care that you needed right away versus having to show up at the ER for the VA system or whatever, and that's just a nightmare there. I mean, look, that became what I did for 4 years. If I had a problem, I ended up having to drive to Tampa to the ER, to the VA ER to get seen for something because I couldn't get an appointment.
Right.
Whereas under the Trump system, they let us go to all these outside sources, and it was a lot better. I mean, it still had its problems. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I was asking you about that when that what change was made, how easy it was to go outside with the
Yeah,
new program.
it was great under the other administration. It was not as great under this past administration. I'm hoping that it goes back the other way, because I think that's important, and not just because I'm a veteran, but because I actually give two damns about veterans, and I think that they've earned it. I think there are far more that have earned way more than me. I struggle with that. I mean, people that know me, you guys know that I actually have struggles with claiming certain benefits that are afforded to me. And it's because I know people that are so much worse off and
Well,
don't have
it's like
anything.
my late father-in-law. He was an advocate for veterans health care.
Right.
He kept telling me that I should go apply for benefits because I have issues with my hips.
Right.
And, my argument is still the same today. I mean, there's I was in the National Guard. You know, now I was a full-time guardsman. I was what they call an AGR, but still, I never deployed. I know people that are missing limbs and
Right.
can't get the care they need.
Got
So
blowed up.
what the heck am I complaining about,
Right.
right? I took a fall out on a run one day and ended up in physical therapy for a couple months.
Right.
Okay, you know, um, people get blowed up and they have a hard time getting their benefits. I, it's bizarre.
Yeah. And and I mean, to be honest, you go back to like I mean, there's not a lot of them left, which is a sad state to say, but there's not a lot of World War II guys left. Um, you look at the Korean War guys, the Vietnam guys, those conflicts, and those guys absolutely were done wrong and are
Hmm.
still being done wrong, which is crazy
Absolutely.
to me because our era, Jeff, really started to open up the veterans care, but I don't know why it didn't seem to cover backwards, right? I
Yeah.
really think that there's a weird bureaucracy thing where they're like, well, those guys are old enough that they're going to start dying off and we won't have to cover it. And that's a terrible thing to say, but I absolutely believe it's a truth statement. And, in certain circles within our government and bureaucracy and all that nonsense, whatever. Wow, this has gone to a completely different place than we normally go. But it's there. And yes, it's a thing. And there's a lot of things like in my starting era, you didn't talk about a TBI, traumatic brain injury. You did not discuss PTSD. You did not discuss depression. You didn't discuss anxiety because those were all looked as weaknesses and bad things, and they would absolutely end your career,
Hmm.
right? Then we started embracing these things, saying, look, man, we need to take care of these things. These are things that we should be addressing because they are real. They're there. right? And so the stigma started to drop a little bit, and it's been progressively dropping. The stigma has been getting smaller, I guess, is the better way to say it. And I think that's a great thing. But again, there's still portions of the world out there where you can't talk about this kind of stuff, right? I mean, uh, topics like severe depression in the trucking world
Mm-hmm.
could cost you a DOT card. Could, not will, could. But it's all in someone's interpretation of your medical files that's not the guy you deal with on a regular basis. It's a dude reading your file who's never seen it before, right? Um, PTSD is another one of those things that you could absolutely lose your medical card over. So for us, whoa, don't talk about that stuff yet. That's what these folks need to do. They need to talk about this stuff,
Yeah.
Because we've found, I say we, the military community is finding that all these different therapies that are out there, when they finally embrace them, and vets start embracing, hey man, I'm talking this stuff out and it's making my life better.
Yeah.
And if
Hey,
those guys from eating a barrel or whatever and removing themselves from the planet, man, 100% do something.
hey, I
Sorry.
looked this Travis Mills guy up that Wimpy suggested.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to say go to his website. It's a promotional website, but promotional websites have good information on them. He's got a couple books, Charlie. We're gonna have to check those out.
Yeah.
It's got one called. Let me get back over there here. Do 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 do. Tough as they come. Staff Sergeant Travis Mills and 12 here we go again.
Words.
12, 12 warrior principles to reclaim and recalibrate your life. Bounce
Nice.
back.
Well, we met that guy at
Yeah, the
a side
operator.
event for ES, and
Yeah, the operator that was a double amputee.
right, and that dude runs Ironman competitions
Yeah, yeah, he was a trip. That
and
guy.
does
I
well.
really
He
liked
was
him.
he was cool to talk to, right? I mean, talk about an inspirational dude.
Very
And
humble too, because
yeah,
we
right.
like. So one of the things that was funny to me about him. So we asked him if we could get him on the show, and we sorry guys, we just didn't follow up. We should have.
Yeah,
We still
right.
could, but um, to kind of talk to him, and then he could promote his stuff. He's like, well, I don't know. I mean, I'm not really into the self promotion thing. What?
Right. Right. Yeah.
He's like, yeah, people just like hear that I'm a good speaker, and then they look me up, and then they invite me to their events.
That dude's a hero to me. I'm just saying. I would have he wouldn't have to self promote. I would promote the crap out of him right there.
Yep.
Fanboying because hey, look, the guy has dealt with some serious adversity and traumatic injuries and a lot of horrible things that our veterans have gone through. And here he is, man. He's out there helping people. He's talking and he's sharing his story and he's sharing his experiences. And I think that that's really important for, we've got a huge military community within the trucking industry.
Hmm.
And a lot of these guys come to trucking because you know what? They don't have to deal with anybody else. One person at a time, right?
Yep.
Very solitary, very quiet, you know, not on the edge of flipping out, but the solitude can create problems. So,
Yep.
those
It's a
people,
weird thing because you talk to these guys, and there's a thing with veterans, even never deploying, they're like, oh, you were in uniform, so I can talk to you. And some of the drivers are literally they're out here. They needed a job so they could pay the rent or whatever, and they needed to not be around people because they're trying not to smoke a guy,
right?
like literally. The rage that they experience over stuff that we complain about because of their experiences, because of
Lack,
their experiences, they tend to just take care of business. Okay,
right.
that's what it is. That's why they feel like they need to be out here by themselves. So it's a kind of a good thing, but it's also a bad thing because again, like Charlie said, isolation. I'm struggling with that a little bit right now because I was at a point in my career where I was literally home every couple of weeks. Life was good. Changed my business model, and now I'm back to being out for 2 months at a time, and it's tough, man, going back like that. And I don't have that kind of PTSD.
Right.
So,
Yeah, it's crazy, and because of the industry being what it is, with the federal guidelines and all this other stuff, I actually understand why there's so many people out there that are untreated and
mhm.
what have you, and it just sucks. I'm gonna throw it out there, and I've done it
Well,
before. If you guys ever need to talk to somebody, look, man, I can listen. We can share some stories. You want me to just shut up and listen and be that shoulder? I'm down. Um, I know quite a few people who are, and just the act of listening. And I mean, don't just yeah, right. If you can have an eye to eye conversation with someone and let them see that you are actively listening,
mhm,
because when you ask a guy, uh, or if you ask a person, I'm not even gonna put a gender on it, okay? Um, if you ask an individual and you say, "Hey, how are you doing?" and you get, "I'm tired, man."
mhm,
This is important. This is something you should ask. Why are you tired? What's making you tired? And what kind of tired is it?
mhm.
Because there's a flag there for certain demographics, we'll say, to use fancy words, right? Where tired could mean this is my last day here.
Yep.
And sorry, it chokes me up a little bit. But this could be that moment where if you just follow up, why are you tired? What are you tired of? What kind of tired is it, right? And really pay attention to what they say, body language, the way they move their eyes,
Mhm.
the demeanor on their face, the expression. All you got to do is listen 9 times out of 10, and you could save a life. You could absolutely save a life. And you may not even ever know that you saved someone's life.
Yeah.
It's not about being a hero. It's just about being a person. It's about being a human being to someone that's hurting or what have you, right? Um, God, I can literally talk hours about this stuff, and I apologize, but I don't apologize. Sorry, not sorry.
But, Charlie, you do have to answer the phone for that to work.
You're right. But you know what? I look, people that I'm aware of, right?
Mhm.
That we have had a brief discussion about these things. No, there's a hotline to me, right?
Mhm.
They say certain things, and I will absolutely answer that call. You know, I failed someone in my brain. I failed someone years ago, and I live with that. And it was a family member, right? That adds to my own happy stuff. Not happy. But after that person left our planet, I refuse to say no. I refuse to not take some time and talk to people look, sometimes it requires you to say, "Hey man, no, I really need a serious conversation. I'm having a bad day." I mean, you look at Jeff and I, and a lot of our guys, and a lot of us are on the phone all day long, talking business and coaching and things of that nature, right? Don't think for a minute that if you send me a text message and say, "Look, man, I'm having one of those days. I need to talk." I will hang up on Jeff. I will hang up on Ida. I don't care. We'll have that conversation. If all you need me to do is listen, I will absolutely listen. If you want some advice, if you want to share stories, we can do that. I mean, sometimes it really is just a matter of being there and being the one to listen. That's all that it takes. So, you know, I've talked to people who I don't particularly like. And maybe that's a harsh thing to say, but I don't particularly like these people. But you know what? I will absolutely be there. I will open my heart. I will open my mind and my ears, and I will listen to them, and I will look them in the eye, and be there for them is the best way that I can. So I'm telling all of you, if you need to reach out to me, Most of you know how to get a hold of me. I mean, how to get a hold of me is all over the channels and things like that. Please find someone you can talk to, whether it's me, Jeff, a pastor, a preacher, whatever your denomination has, uh, a psychiatrist, a psychologist, a buddy, whatever. Don't not talk. It's not going to do you any good. And when you hear things like "I'm tired," no, I'm fine. I'm fine. No, no, I'm fine. A lot of times, you watch that fine progression, you will see a change in their eyes, their face, and their body language. No, you really okay, man? No, really. And be present and be genuine. If you can't do that, pound sand, move on, find someone who can help this person. There's so many things that we can do now for each other and just look after each other. And it's just like, I say every week at the end of the show, look after each other. There's no one out here looking after us but us. That's the trucking community. That's the veteran community. That's the human race. It's unfortunate to say, but you look at, and I don't think it's the majority, but there does seem to be a leaning that way.
Mm-hmm.
That everybody's just kind of wrapped up in their own nonsense, and I shouldn't say nonsense because that dismisses it. Things that are important to you are not necessarily important to someone else. That's a problem sometimes. You need to be open to understand that while this may not be a thing that you are passionate about, this is something that's important to them.
Mm-hmm.
Take a little time out of your day. Just just a little bit of time. You could save someone's life. You could make someone's life mean something. Who knows? Maybe that person saves someone else just because they're like, man, somebody listen to me. Maybe I'm gonna listen to the next guy. I don't know. Sorry, not sorry. Like I said, I can talk about this stuff for hours. Jeff knows that when I go off on this tangent, it can get rocky, and I am actually known to tear up and cry, and nobody wants to see me cry because I do not cry pretty. I cry ugly, but I'll do it for you if that's what we need to do. So yeah, it's out there. I don't talk about it enough with people. Whatever. Let's talk. If you need it, you got to let me know though. You got to be honest with yourself to be honest with anyone else. It starts there. You got to say, "Hey, I'm not okay. I'm not fine. I can't do this by myself." That's not weakness. That's strength. That's courage. That takes great strength and courage, especially for mine and Jeff's generation of men and those before us. No, it is to open up and say something. I can't do this. That is one of the hardest things that comes out of my mouth. I can't do this alone. I can't do this. It has been the struggle of my life to say, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this by myself. I need some help. So whatever. It's a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, the other group of people beyond truckers, Charlie, that have these issues is entrepreneurs, period, especially with the digital age,
Right?
because they sit in front of their computers all day trying to pitch, trying to do their Facebooks, doing all the things that a quote influencer does.
Right.
And they're by themselves all the time,
Right.
you know. A situation where you're isolated most of the time away from other people. I mean, I still have good friends from places I've worked for in the past. You know, when you're in an office, when you're in a foundry or whatever the job might be, you're around other people. That's not the case for us. Some people are fortunate, like you, Charlie, to have your wife out with you.
Right.
But again, that's not the normal for a truck driver.
Right. And look, full disclosure, it can be a blessing and a curse. Just saying. We get our moments, but more times than not, it is absolutely a blessing. Exactly. Mental health is real, Craig. I wish we talked about this more often, and I wish it wasn't still such. It still seems a little taboo at times, and because of our industry being what it is. And I look, I get the concern from the industry. I do. It's not lost on me. Let's be real.
Yeah.
You got a severely depressed guy with PTSD and some impulse control issues,
Hmm.
right? Driving 80,000 pounds down the road, fuel truck, big truck, dry, could be salt. Who cares? Doesn't matter what it is, still a lot of weight. Um, Maybe we want to keep a closer eye on that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, this is their only means of,
Income. Yeah.
yeah,
That's one of the things that, if you and I have talked, especially over the last 30 days or so. I think that they do a lot of throwing the baby out with the bathwater on this one. They don't they don't look at it as an individual like I think they should.
right,
They if you have, any number of things, depression, if you have heart condition,
right,
diabetes, all a whole host of things, they throw you into this basket and say you can't drive.
right,
Now, talking to my doctor, I don't have the mental health issues. Well, I do, but not that severe.
right.
I mean, we're all nuts for being out here, but
None of us think they're
um,
bad. It's okay.
well, if you think you're crazy, that's the first indication that you're probably not crazy, is what they say.
Right,
But I'm talking to my doctor, and he's like, really, there's no medical reason why you can't drive with an A1C over 8. Somebody at the FMCSA pulled that out of their butt and decided that was the number.
right,
Because I asked him about that. We've talked about this, Charlie. Those guys with the diabetes scars up and down their legs wearing the compression socks.
right.
How do they have a CDL?
Purple legs,
You don't, folks, do you realize how bad your blood sugar control has to be to get to that point?
for real.
I'm worried when I see those guys. I hope they either leave way before me, or they're there for a 34 and I can get out before they start driving. Okay.
Right.
Um, so they lump me in with
Way
that
to
guy.
grab a battery.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so I do think that there's a lot of throwing the baby out with the bathwater on this one. One of the things that I think I like Craig and those of you guys that know me really well, with my educational background and my skill set, trucking has been a great career. I know quite a bit about business and things like that, uh, but I don't have the piece of paper saying that I do, right?
Right.
So trucking is how I make my money, and it's great. And unfortunately, I come from a. I was telling Tony this the other day because he likes to tell me that I can cure my diabetes, which that's not a thing. Just so y'all know, you can't cure diabetes. If you have diabetes, you have diabetes. Um, Everybody on both sides of my family, mother and father, had diabetes. Everybody. So that leads you to suspect that maybe it's a genetic issue, right, Charlie?
Right.
So typically, people in my family line end up with problems starting in their late 40s, early 50s. I'm 51. Guess what? It's hitting me hard. So they throw me in with these people that are on death's door if you just look at them. And I call BS. And to a greater extent, the mental health thing. I don't know what they are, but if you're on certain antidepressants, things like that, you can't drive. Even though when you look at these things that people take to help them with their depression, they actually work. They're okay if they're on their meds. It's a disqualifier. Why? Because somebody at the FMCA decided it was,
Right.
not because of any medical opinion. And I just think it's crap, Charlie. It puts people in a bad situation where they could be okay. They could. But if they do that, they put their livelihood at risk. So they suffer in
Right.
silence most of the time. That's my rant. You got your rant, I got my rant. We're good.
I dig it, man. Um, well, like Trucker Tim said, yeah, mental health is definitely real. Sadly, we as a society ignore and embrace a lot of these mental health issues rather than try to get them care, right?
Yeah.
Um, uh,
The whole I'm okay, you're okay thing.
right,
You know, um, I get the importance of having a good self esteem. I do. Contrary to my children's belief, I've tried to instill that in them because all children think that you're always just down on them, no matter what you do.
right,
But I get that that's a component to mental health, but it's not the whole picture. There's times when you just need a little help.
right. And you
You
know what?
know,
Get the help. Ask for it.
yeah.
It's tough. I know. It's tough. Like I said, I believe that's courage. That's bravery. That's the strong thing.
Hmm.
If you leave this planet by your own hand,
Oh, that's a thing too. Wimpy brought up a good thing. Good point. As you get older, especially Charlie and I have both complained about this. He said the negative 20-degree temps the last few weeks was terrible on my joints. Could hardly walk this week, but back above freezing and I feel great. Yep. That's another one of those things, Charlie. My dad warned me about that, and I
right?
didn't believe him. And now here I am. I'm probably about a year away from just buying a box of Bengay, dude.
Right. By the caseload. The
You're
gross.
gonna smell me coming because that stuff is potent.
Yeah, I just says physical health is just as important as mental health, and I absolutely agree. We so often forget about physical health in the trucking industry. I mean, our lifestyle, it's sedentary. We
Yeah.
sit. And at the end of a 12, 14 hour day, who the hell wants to get out and walk around? Right. I mean, you have to make an effort to do that. Um,
And 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 that is part of the holistic thing.
right,
People throw that word around, but what holistic health actually means is the whole package, looking at everything. Your physical health has a direct influence on your mental health.
right.
You know, here's a hard thing for men to say, but Donna will tell you I actually say it from time to time. There's times, Charlie, when I feel fat.
Right.
People think that people, for whatever reason, think that women are the only ones that feel that way. There are times when I feel fat,
Right.
and it definitely affects my attitude. Oh, screw it! I might as well go to McDonald's. I'm fat anyway. That's the worst thing I could do as a diabetic.
Right. Right. Right.
Better to go take a walk, because what I noticed is if you instead you go take a walk, it kind of clears it out, and you start feeling better. Just that little bit of exercise. That's why I tell people I park in the back 40 of truck stops on purpose, because if
Right.
nothing else, I have to walk to go to the bathroom. It
Right.
makes me walk. I'm not as felt as I once was. Those of you that have met me notice a
Great
little
word.
pooch, but I'm also not 300 pounds at 5'7".
When
Okay.
look, I hit. I know I hit. I did not see it on a scale. I saw 298 on the scale, and I know I gained weight after that. I refused to get on the scale after that. And then, some months later, maybe half a year later, I'm like, I got to do something about this. So I'm fairly certain I exceeded the 300 mark. And for me, with my physical issues, right? Not a good combination of being obese and having, three fractured vertebrae in my life,
Hmm.
right? And trucking and whatever else, right? I mean, that's my spine is just part of my injuries that I sustained, right? But
Hmm.
there's so much involved with it. But now I'm steady at like so. They, apparently, my doctor's not okay with me getting naked to get on the scale. So the weight that I give them, that they give me every time I go in there, is like 195 to 198,
Hmm.
and
How
I'm like,
tall are
but at
you?
home I'm 193, sir.
How
Close,
tall are you?
75 inches, 6'3".
Yeah. See, I'm 5'7" and I weigh in at 210 right now, which is heavy
Right,
for a 5'7" guy.
right, and that takes a toll. I mean, it takes a toll on your joints. You look, people that know me, you guys know I complain about all the arthritis and metal in my body, and the weather, the weight, all these things, they add up, and it gets tough. And believe it or not, it affects your mental health as well, which
Hmm.
can then in turn create this vicious cycle. You're like, oh, I'm sad because I'm overweight. Oh, I'm overweight because I'm sad, and it feeds off itself,
Hmm.
right? Look, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to admit, there's some issues. There's some things you could do better. There's some help that you could seek. There are resources out there. There's free resources. There's expensive resources. I mean, um,
Hey, if you've got the money, actually a service out there if you're dealing with depression specifically. Better Health, I think it's called. Have you seen that one, Charlie?
yeah,
It's 100% Zoom call um, counselors. It's not that much more expensive than a regular counselor, and I don't think that insurance covers it. But I've looked into that a little bit, and I think that's going to help a lot of people. This everything being online thing for those of us that are in a different city every single day. You know, so there are services out there. Um, uh, there seems to be an AA type group for just about everything out there these days, and a lot of them are online. You know, there's Facebook groups, there's all sorts of things that don't cost anything, and all you're doing is joining a group of people that are struggling as you are, and you support each other. I think that above all else, as fun as Facebook can be, that right there is what makes me think that that social media has a positive.
right. Uh, Look, if you've ever thought about, if you're at one of those points in your life and you're thinking about removing yourself from the planet, call somebody, talk to somebody, hit dial 988. If you're a vet, they even have a special option just for you because our group of people tends to have a different view of things and a way of talking, and those people they're trained to deal with us.
Yep,
Don't be afraid. It's anonymous. I mean, look, and you maybe they'll guide you to resources that can help you get through that point in time, because this thing that's getting you right this minute, right now, that you're at that point, it's easy to say this too shall pass, but sometimes just having someone to help you walk through it and change your perspective or just listen can be all the difference in the world.
absolutely. Ida says she used one of those services called Cerebral, and her insurance did cover it.
Nice.
So, so yeah, I mean, there's been times in my life, Charlie, where I've gone to a therapist.
Right.
Those of you that know me know that our firstborn son only lived for 18 hours, and that threw me for a big loop. And I
Right.
denied it for years. I
Can't
was
even
not a
imagine.
nice person. Donna will tell you it really almost cost us our relationship. It almost cost us our marriage. And then I went and got help, and things changed. So I'm just saying, don't think you're alone. That's my point. We've all been through something.
For real. On that note, you guys, we're at our mark. I'm gonna wrap it there, and I'm okay with wrapping it on this subject. I think this is important, and you know what? If you guys know anybody, you can find the spot where we started down this path today, this little bit of a journey, a little deep insight. You can go to the YouTube channel, find that spot. If you're on a computer or a laptop or something like that, you can pause it right at that moment and then hit the share link, and it'll say share this from this point,
Yep.
right? And you'll send them a link and it'll start right then and there, and that's where they'll jump to, and they can ignore the business stuff, because I think that this is so powerful and important to get out there that by all means please share that stuff. If you know somebody, if it's you, and you need to save it on your phone and just come back to it and like, hey, look, I'm not alone. I assure you, you are not.
Hmm.
um, Save this stuff. have the courage and the strength. Look, Sandy, this, you guys, some of you guys may not know, Sandy is an amazing woman. And Sandy will absolutely take time out of her day just to be that shoulder for you. Sandy and I have had amazing conversations. Sandy's from Seabright Agency, but she will absolutely step out of that work role and be there as someone to listen to. Um, Amazing woman. But yeah, I want to go back to this. You guys be safe. Take care of each other. Take a couple minutes out of your day and be human to another human being. Jeff, what do you got? What are you going to wrap with?
The same thing I wrap with every week, Charlie.
Oh, I feel like there's a pink in the brain moment.
Yes. Remember, with no action, there is no traction. And especially in what we talked about this last hour or so, guys,
Real, real talk right
don't
there.
just sit on it. Act.
It's not going to go away.
The cliche, the life you save may be your own. Maybe through getting involved and being honest about where you're at, you're helping someone else too. And there's power
Right.
in that. Just act. Do
Right.
something.
Please. Thank you guys for tuning in. Again, it is a tremendous thing to us that you take time out of your day every week and come hang out with us. When you're watching this on the replay or whether you're live, we dig you guys, love you. Um, Remember, look after each other. There's no one out here looking after us but us. Um, we'll see you guys here next week, Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern time. And yeah, I look forward to it. This is therapy for me too, by the way. Just saying. We'll see you guys soon.